We are on day 18 of our learning, just beginning by taking a moment before we dive into the learning to transition from whatever it is that we're doing. Just taking a moment of quiet to breathe a little bit and open ourselves up to whatever Sicha Yud Gimel will offer us. Sicha Yud Gimel continues the theme that we saw in Sicha Yud Beis, which was the idea of challenges and difficulties that we find in trying to achieve things. Here, Rabbi Nachman is moving from focusing on challenges in Avodas Hashem and things in Kedusha and in Ruchnius and in spirituality, to challenges and difficulties that we face in our avodah begashmi, in our material lives. Yesh anashim kesherim she'en lahem parnasa. It's an idea we saw earlier on. There are anashim kesherim. There are upright people, straight people. She'en lahem parnasa. They don't have money. They don't have a livelihood. V'yesh lahem dochek ubilbulim gedolim mizeh. And as a result of their not having adequate income and an adequate livelihood, they're very pressed by this, and they're left confused and overwrought and challenged from this. V'hu tova la'olam. But in truth, Rabbi Nachman says, this fact that they find themselves in a position where they don't have adequate parnasa, and they find themselves pressed and harried and pressured because of this, this is actually tova la'olam. It's a good thing for the world. Vida, and no. Sheyesh diburim yikarim sheyotzim al yidei bilbul daika. There are many wonderful, sweet, dear words and things that come out of specifically and only bilbulim, challenges, difficulties, confusions. However, yesh chilukim bein habilbulim, but there are many differences between different kinds of bilbulim. Kemuva b'medrash, like it says in the Medrash in Bereshis Rabbah, the Medrash notes initially that tardema, sleep, slumber, sleepiness, is the beginning of nefila. It's the beginning of a fall spiritually. A person sleeps, and they're not attentive, and they can fall into laziness, and they can fall into not wanting to move, not wanting to be active, sort of being settled where they are. And the Medrash says that that's the beginning of falling into negative places spiritually. Then the Medrash continues, and it says that there are different kinds of tardema. They're not all sleep and not all slumber is necessarily negative. Sheyesh tardema shel nevuah, because on the one hand, there's a tardema, there's a sleepiness that is an aspect of nevuah, of prophecy, kamosha kasav, like it says, v'tardema nafal al Avram, that when Avram receives prophecy, a sleepiness fell over him. And there's also yesh tardema shel shtus. There's a tardema of foolishness, sleepiness of foolishness and nothingness and pointlessness. Tardema hu bilbul hadas, and tardema, this idea of sleepiness, this is the idea of bilbul hadas, the idea of being distracted and confused and overwhelmed and so on and so forth. And what do we do when we find ourselves in a position of being overwhelmed and overwrought and drained and so on? We take a nap, we go to sleep, we check out. And that checking out, it can be a source of positive things. It can take us to a place of nevuah, apparently, but it can also be a source of negative things, and it can be a tardema shel shtus. And there's a lot of ideas to unpack here. So first of all, first and foremost, what does it mean that there's pressure and there's confusion and challenge and difficulty that comes from not having parnasa, and it can be tova la'olam. It's a good thing. It can be a good thing for the world. So I think on one level we could say that this is just a familiar aspect of one of the core avodas, one of the core spiritual works and practices and ideas within all of Rabbi Nachman's Torah, which is the critical importance of what Rabbi Nachman calls the avoda of Aye Makom Kavod. The avoda of katnos, the avoda of finding ourselves in difficult and challenged places. And when we find ourselves in difficult and challenged places, our response, hopefully, is Aye Makom Kavoda. We turn and we say, Aye Makom Kavoda, where is the place of your honor? Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are times when we experience you. V'bechinas Male Kalaretz Kavoda. We sometimes experience our lives and experience God's presence in our lives in the sense of everything is full of godliness. Everything is full of the kavod of Hashem. Kavod of Hashem usually referring to Shechina and the manifest presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within material reality. And sometimes we experience in that when things are going well and things are working and we're getting what we need and we're taken care of and we feel safe and held and successful and progressing and so on. And then there are other times where we don't have what we need and we feel insecure and we're wanting and we're needing and we're unsuccessful and we're not progressing and we're facing setbacks. And Rabbi Nachman says those are times of katnos, those are times of the avoda of Aye Makom Kavodo, of turning to Hashem and saying, where are you? Rabbi Nachman does this in connection with certain other things as well, specifically in connection to machshavos zaros, right, distracting thoughts that pop up during davening, that we can take those thoughts and we can turn them into something positive, daika. We don't have to fight them. We don't have to push them away. We don't have to sort of challenge them and get rid of them. Instead, what we can do is simply by noticing that if I'm having this thought, it's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is putting that thought in my head. And it's only my own sense of self and my gaiva and my yeshus and my sense of where I should be spiritually that's telling me that I'm in the middle of davening, so I shouldn't have any distracting thoughts. But apparently that's not true, because if I'm able to transcend and abstract away from myself through bittul, then I can say, if the thought is here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me having this thought. And even that alone transforms that thought from a machshava zara, from a foreign thought, from a distracting thought, from a tefillah, to actually a distraction that turns me back into my tefillah and back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I mean, that's a similar idea that we find when we talk about the avodah of Aye and the avodah of Katnos, which is, if I find myself in difficult situations, the difficult situation in and of itself is the source of connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a new sense, and not only in a new sense, because previously I connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu when things were good, and I appreciated God in God's chesed, and God's support, and God's light, and so on. But now I'm trying to appreciate that even here within a difficult place, also HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here specifically through my asking, where are you? If I'm saying, where are you, then you're here. I just don't understand why you're here or how you're here in this, but you're here. So dafka in that, I'm seeing a different aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm becoming a merkava l'shchina. I'm becoming a vehicle for the revelation and appreciation of a different and new aspect of Elokus within this world, of the infinite aspects of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that are present within this world. I can't see that unless I face challenge. I can only see positive aspects, but I can't see difficult aspects, and now I can see the difficult aspect. That's true. And on an even deeper level, not only can bilbulim and challenges and difficulties cause me to see new aspects of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but Rabbi Nachman writes and Rabbi Nassim elaborates, they can teach me to see much deeper, higher aspects of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because it's one thing to say that I'm experiencing God and I'm experiencing hashgacha and God's presence in my life when God is acting the way that I assume God is supposed to act, and my mind tells me that chok hatov lehitiv, God is supposed to be good. And the goal of life is to enjoy and take pleasure in God, but now I'm not taking pleasure. So what am I connecting to now? Now I'm connecting to an aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is beyond my sense of what's good and bad, what's pleasurable and difficult, what's positive and negative. Because certainly the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu encompasses all those things. This is what Rabbi Nachman refers to as the Maimer Satan, Maimer Sasam, the statement that creates the world, the statement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ratzona HaPashut, that creates the world that is too abstract and too all-encompassing to even be stated in a Vayomer Elokim, like it says at the beginning of Bereshis. 9 times it says Vayomer Elokim, but the Mishnah says there were 10 utterances that created the world. What's the 10th one? Rabbi Nachman says it's the Maimer Sasam. It's the one that is silent. It's the one that's too abstract, the very beginning that kicks everything into motion. It's before language. It exists before all limitation. It's the one that's even closer to the essence, the all-encompassing essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to be able to say, I am a Kom Kavodo, that you're here, particularly within the Bilbulim, and I'm going to turn to you here, even if I don't understand you. That's to connect to an aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's beyond understanding on a level that we can't do when things are going well. And so there are positives here. There's a tova la'olam. The idea that there are challenges and there are difficulties and things don't only work well is a tova la'olam. It's also a tova la'olam in another sense, because dafka, through bilbulim, right? Al yedei bilbulim daika, Rabbi Nachman says here, specifically through bilbulim, special things can happen that couldn't happen if everything is going well. When things are going well, they're going well, and we try to maintain them exactly the way they are. When my avoda is going well, I don't change it because it's working. When my learning is going well, I will keep learning what I'm learning, and I keep learning it the way I'm learning it because it's going well and it's working. When my work is going well and I'm making money, so I keep doing the same thing because I'm making money. It's only when things go wrong, it's only when I'm not being successful, it's only when what I need is not providing me with what I think that I need and I'm facing confusion and difficulty, that is when I turn and say, what I've been doing is not working for me, let me try something new, let me try something different. Those things would not ever come out. New inventions, new ideas, new directions, career changes, new ways of learning, new Torah that I'm interested in. None of that would ever happen if everything was always going well all the time. And it's specifically when I'm not being fed, I'm not being satisfied, I'm not being supported by the current state of things, that the difficulty of the current state of things forces me in to explore new things and to bring those new things out into the open and to actualize them as I search for what will work next. And so these are 2 different ways, or a few different ways, I think, of understanding why it is, perhaps, that bilbulim and challenges and difficulties can be taken in a positive way and how we can gain from appreciating the positive side of them. And the truth is that perhaps this is what the Medrash is telling us as well, that the same tardema, which is bilbul hadas, confusion, difficulty, overwhelm, etc., it can take me in different ways. It can take me to a place where I shut down and I escape. Tardema shel shtus, the beginning of nefila. Or it can take me to actually very high places, places of nevuah. The Arizal describes, or Rav Chaim Vital really describes at the beginning of Shar Ruach HaKodesh, that the essence of nevuah is just to learn to appreciate that everything that's happening, everything that I experience, everything I hear, everything I feel, everything I see, every sound, like he says, even the sound of a walking stick tapping as someone walks around, even that sound is communicating with me. And everything is communicating with me. And so the Tardema Shel Nevuah is to sink into an appreciation of the constant communication of all of reality, and thereby being lulled into a sense of nothing is new, nothing is remarkable, nothing is startling. I don't have to be alert. Instead, I can sink into a certain sense of menucha, sleepiness, calmness, that creates a state that's receptive to nevuah. And that specifically can only come if the ups and downs of life are not ups and downs. Like David HaMelech says, that I search for you in the heavens and I find you there, and I search for you in Sheol, I search for you in hell, and I find you there as well, because you're there either way, and it makes no difference in which place I happen to find you, because it's all the same you, just wearing different clothing, different levushim. Hashem malach yus lavesh lavesh Adonai oz hazar. There's just different clothing that you're enclosed in, but it's the same you, regardless of where I happen to encounter you or what situation I happen to encounter you. Have a wonderful day.